There we go. Alright, you guys ready? Ready to get back into this? This humongous pile of videos that we got? That just continues to grow. And of course, we're going to start with a caddy vid. And yes, I know, I've had more than a few people tell me that if caddy is able to, like, you know, not have any more drama, that the new videos come out the 1st of next month. So we're gonna have to prepare our snacks. Like, that's gonna be the stream, is that caddy video, because it's supposed to be like 3-4 hours long. So a bit of a watch. But yeah. Alright, we're gonna watch a couple vids. Starting with my history with Crash Bandicoot was recommended. So this was like 6 years ago. Let's get this started. Bring out the popcorn maker. Well, I don't have one, so I'd have to go old school and, you know, put some oil in a pan and fry it up. I mean, that's just asking for a disaster, though. Let's go. Oh, what? Oh my god. What the hell? What is this art style?
Greetings and salutations, my beautiful people. Did you like that smooth turnaround there? Well, if anything deserves a smooth turnaround, it's this video, because it's the beginning of something new for this channel, and I'm excited for it.
Wait a minute. Caddy, you have a hat on. How are we supposed to tell what kind of hairstyle you got going on right now? Wait a minute.
I'm so excited, I'm going to stamp on the floor. Welcome, one and all, to a very special time of the year. Yeah, more important than Halloween. More important, more special than Christmas. Welcome, one and all, to the first.
Now, wait a minute. I don't care about the Christmas part, but Halloween now. Wait a minute.
I'm going to be doing a Caddicarus episode dedicated to Crash Bandicoot. Why did I pick June for this, though? Well, a couple of reasons, actually. Firstly, because that's when the Insane Trilogy released, June 2017, and I kind of wanted to dedicate the rest of the month to celebrating the revitalization of Crash Bandicoot after so many years, kind of like what PBG did with Zelda in Skyward Sword.
God, look at young Caddy.
That game came out. And also because my birthday month is June. 19th of June is my birthday, and since Crash Bandicoot is not only one of my favorite franchises of all time, but also Crash Bandicoot 3 was the first video game I ever played, it just seems like fate. It just seems like fate and destiny came together, made a baby, and they called it date. That's where the word date comes from, coming together.
To ease everyone into this month, though, I thought...
Oh my god. I hate to have to say this, but I just need people to realize it's not where the word date comes from, okay? Because there are some of you out there that will actually believe that. Okay? Okay.
it would make sense for me to go over my history with the orange bog brush and all the shit that we've cleaned up together. Because as I said, Crash Warped was the first game I remember ever playing.
Nice.
I mean, I could be wrong about that. You can only remember so much from that young of an age. I was only 4 years old when the game came out, after all. But the earliest, most vivid memories I have of playing the game itself and it coming in through the post while my dad was at work and him ringing me up to tell me to open the package that just came in through the door, and he asked me over the phone excitedly what it was inside the package, and I said... Yeah, I didn't have a fucking clue. I didn't know anything about PS1. I was still scared of Smudger from Thomas the Tank Engine, for fuck's sake.
They actually locked him into a shed with no wheels and left him to die!
Listen, to be fair, the fucking Thomas the Tank Engine thing is like, that whole, like, what would you call that? Not cartoon, but, what type of animation style is that? But yeah, like, it was, I remember it freaking me out as a kid. Legit freaking me out.
So because of those memories and sensations, how fresh it all felt, looking at the cover and thinking, what is this? Ooh, I want to touch it. Ooh, he's got teeth. And seeing that even though it looked like a kid's toy, it wasn't actually a toy, but a
Yeah,
disc
the
instead.
stop motion
This all
style.
makes me
Thank
pretty
you.
sure this was the
I don't know
first
why I
video
couldn't
game
think of
I
it.
actually played with a controller.
I wasn't completely brand new to the concept of video games. It's not like I didn't know what they were. I mean, I remember back in the day, my mum actually told my dad he couldn't set up the PS1 when it was brand new in the living room because it would cause too much disruption for everything else going on. So it had to be set up in my bedroom when I was very small. And I have vivid memories of the original Tomb Raider and the original Wipeout being played in the background, flashes of it coming onto my face in the morning on an early Sunday morning while I was having a sleep in. I kind of remember bits and pieces of things like that. But as far as me actually physically playing a game is concerned, yeah, my cherry was popped with Crash Bandicoot 3. And unlike most people, I can say that I didn't regret it.
How could I? Crash Bandicoot Warped, despite me not realizing
Caddy.
at the time that it was a third entry in a popular
Gotta rephrase
franchise,
that.
showed me so much that
The first game I can remember actually playing was... God, okay, this is actually hard for me to remember specifically. It was either the original Doom or original Doom 2. I just remember being on my older brother's PC. Like, I was like 5 or something. Like, it was a long ass time ago. In the ancient dinosaur times. When the PCs were thick and had that, like, eggshell look. You know what I'm talking about? Like, I played the OG, either Doom 1 or Doom 2 on his PC. I had no idea what I was doing, but I liked all the fucking colors and the fucking flying meatballs, I think is what I called them.
not just platformers, but what video games as a whole could do. And yeah, it took me a good 2 years or so to actually play it decently and appreciate what it had to offer me on my own, because all the games I used to play when I was around 4 or 5 years old, my dad helped me out with a lot, including Tomb Raider 2, which we finished together, but it did take fucking ages. The impact it left on me is undeniable. It showed me 3D platforming
Yeah,
spaces
flying
and
meatballs.
linear
I was 5,
corridor-based
okay?
levels. It showed me racing stages, free controlling underwater stages, flying stages, how hectic and intimidating bosses could be, and how I could never avoid those fucking lions no matter how much I tried. It showed me on-rail stages while controlling a different character for an extra sense of variety and
I remember
inclusion of
this.
female characters when everyone around the playground ran
That
around
level-
shouting that games were boy-only toys. It showed me how games could give you
God, boy only toys. Oh my god. Now they're trying to give everything a gender and while also taking away gender. But we're not going to get into that. I remember that fucking level where we were running around. And I remember failing that so many times. But I can't remember why I failed it. Besides me being just bad at games. I just can't. Like,
optional objectives instead of just simply getting to the end of a goal, which is something you always assume is the point of any game when you've been playing fucking snakes and ladders your whole life. And even better, while using other vehicles that let you explore levels more openly and freely than running and jumping around. It showed me how you can be rewarded extra for beating a tough challenge by not only unlocking more stages, but getting extra power-ups to make the rest of the challenges either more badass or easier. The point is, Crash 3 showed me as much as it possibly could for a first ever video game experience, all at the same time with gorgeous visuals and insane music blowing my mind with
the
very
I
memorable
Spy
characters all
Funhouse
throughout.
for
Masterfully animated, voice acted, and talking
I never had the video games of I Spy, but I remember having a couple of the books. Like, I actually enjoyed those growing up. But I think at that point, I didn't really realize there were games for I Spy. I just had the books.
directly to me as I thwarted their plans. I remember having Entropy yelling at me for beating all of his stages and then being terrified as he yelled even more at the beginning of his boss battle. And then fucking Engine arrived with his horrific appearance and voice, and I had to stop playing for a few days. Then I came back to the game and the boss fight itself was even scarier. And of course, there was
The
crash
trauma
dash
is
power,
real,
allowing me
Caddy.
to replay the platforming stages but as fast as possible, which at first was cool enough because it introduced me to the fun of speedrunning.
Yeah, this
in
level
games,
right there.
But then blew my mind when I did a few of them and a secret warp pad arrived in the middle of the warp room and I found out that those same time trials I did unlocked more levels. How great is that?
Because of all of this, Crash Bandicoot 3 wasn't only the video game I first ever got into, but it also became one of my favourites even to this day, and it made me become a Crash Bandicoot fan from that moment onwards.
I got these incredible action figures for a Christmas one year here that only today I realized are incredibly rare and valuable after searching them up on
God
eBay. And that's
damn,
really
them
sad for me
prices.
because nowadays my own figures are either completely lost, in multiple pieces deep in the void of a bath toy bucket at my parents' house, or living with my sister in her flat a couple of hours away from me, and I hate to think what she's actually doing with the fucking things. I also have these amazing glow-in-the-dark Crash pajamas that I did have a photo of me wearing at some
You know, it's sad to think about, like all these video game like collectibles and video games themselves. It's so hard to think about like parents or relatives like selling that shit and not realizing the real price. Like they'll be selling that shit for pennies or $1, and they'll be worth like hundreds to thousands of dollars these days. And they fucking threw that shit away in a yard sale or something. It's it hurts my soul.
point, but I can't find that photo anywhere, and this naturally led me on to learning more about Crash the older I got and wanting to go back in time to the older games. Just before Wrath of Cortex was released, I managed to get my hands on Crash Bandicoot 2 after I played this demo disc absolutely religiously over and over again with the first Polar Bear stage. When I finally got around to the full game, I remember liking it a lot, but finding it a little trickier and more restrictive than 3 because of the lack of power-ups and good boss fights. But I did appreciate how much it didn't hold my hand compared to Crash 3. I felt very tested and like a big boy in my big boy pants. The soundtrack totally blew my mind to the point of me
baggy
hitting
as fuck
puberty early,
pants.
and I really loved all the fresh stages I wasn't expecting, like the sewer stages, the jetpack stages, and of course the polar bear stages that, despite me knowing inside out from the demo, still managed to surprise me when it combined into the barely visible darkness mechanic and the boulder chases with the single most terrifying thing I've ever seen.
Other than that, I mean,
It's crazy.
Bandicoot 2, Gringotts.
It's crazy to think about these games growing up where they're not actually meant to be scary in any way, but when you're a little kid, it's actually kind of traumatizing for some like levels in games, and they're not trying to be scary. But automatic child trauma. And then we went back for more. Sold all the NSF in a box for 20 bucks. Oh yeah, I remember one time, I don't know if I told you guys this before, but like I think I was still in high school, maybe. But I remember going to like a Goodwill with my family one day, and I wasn't even looking for anything. I was literally just there with my family. And they had a whole like big box with a Super Nintendo, 2 controllers, and they had like, I want to say maybe 15 games, maybe more, all in this box. Like it basically had everything. Like it had all the cables, it worked, like it was good to go. And that whole box, you want to know how much I paid for that box? You want to know how much I paid? $10. Think about that for a second. The OG Super Nintendo console with the 2 controllers, all the wires, it worked great, and like 15 games. $10 make you holla. You ain't gonna get that these days. Not even at a Goodwill. Because Goodwill caught on. Like, they started upping their prices and shit when they're like, oh, wait. The electronic shit we have is actually worth something. We can up the price and act and pretend like we're not Goodwill and actually like a store. So now, the magic is gone. Everybody started catching on.
Steakhouse is many people's favourite Crash Bandicoot game, and I don't blame them for that, but for me personally, my memories are pretty limited with it compared to Crash Bandicoot 3.
Grey or yellow?
I got my first ever PS2 in Christmas 2001, and the first game I played on that was Wrath of Cortex. That was an incredible gift to unwrap, and it looked like the ultimate PS2 starting kit, all colourful and vibrant against the sleek, black, fat as fuck, bulky cuboid console, but the game unfortunately was only alright. I thought it looked fantastic at the time, but it didn't blow me away, and I liked it a lot more as a kid than I do nowadays, absolutely. And I also remember having to get older friends over to help me with every single boss battle because of how poorly designed, boring, or long and bullshitty they were.
Still, the fleeting impact it may have had on me back in the day was just that, fleeting. It came and it went.
Believe it or not, this then led me on to discovering Crash 1, the game that not even my dad owned or even I played a demo of. And Christ almighty, starting with Crash 3, jumping to Crash 2, and then going back back to the original was the biggest shock of my gaming life. Crash's
Yeah,
smooth,
I couldn't
responsive
do that.
controls and manageable physics were replaced with some of the dopiest and heaviest controls going against difficult design platforming stages I can think of. And
That would
believe
drive
it or
me
not,
nuts.
I found it so hard at the time and so uninteresting to want to carry on that I gave up after the first boulder stage. I'm not kidding, that's near the beginning of the game. I just had no interest to carry on, especially after figuring out you couldn't
it's gray
grab
and
gems
purple.
unless you perfected every single stage, hit every box, and didn't die once. And it wasn't until years later that I finally chose to finish it for the first time and proceed to cry into a cuddly lamb that I named Johnny the Sheep. I wasn't a big fan of how stiff
Johnny
the
the
hog
Sheep.
felt against Polar and Purr in Crash 2 and 3. That sounded bloody awful. And the music I found a little bit too atmospheric.
Oh yeah, I heard about like the whole Goodwill thing. Like as soon as they started upping prices, I knew shit was over. They were going full corpo mode. So when they started selling stuff online as well, I knew they were gonna do some shady ass shit. Like completely forgetting like the fact that Goodwill gets the majority of their shit for free. Like people donate that shit. And then they turn around and sell it for like full price basically. And it's like you're defeating the point of view. Like that. No.
to the mastery of 2 and 3 soundtracks. So yeah, as a kid, this wasn't on my priority list whatsoever, and so the memories I have of it, like Wrath of Cortex, are minimal.
Yeah, I still have that when I got at Goodwill. I don't have all the games, but I still have that OG
the same as the US greatest hit, you know.
Super Nintendo's.
But still pretty kind of meh. And I remember getting that pre-owned from a Game Station shop. Does anyone in the UK remember Game Station? That place was the shit. It was the tits. It was the shittest. But yeah, embarrassingly enough, I did not finish this game until a couple of years after I first played it. I just wasn't clicking with it. So this isn't, even to this day, the game that I jump to when I think of Crash Bandicoot. I don't go back to this one at all that often, unless I go to the Insane edition of the game, which fixes everything that I have major issues with.
After this was my brief time in Crash Bash, which was alright, I guess. Because of how repetitive and fucking tiresome the single player was, most of the memories I got from this game were from multiplayer with my sister. And the amount of times we tried desperately in vain to work together to beat the campaign mode, but never fucking could because she was so shit at the space pong sequences. Seriously, she spent more fucking time playing as Brio and doing the stupid fucking taunt noise after everything she did more than actually play the game. It was enough to make me shit.
At which point I couldn't bear looking at any of this game anymore and didn't want to do the multiplayer. So just left it behind.
With Crash Team Racing, despite how much I adore the game.
Yeah, you know that money they be making now ain't going to their employees either. So I don't know. You know, it's definitely going on all their pockets, the corpo pockets.
And at some point I did play the entire thing to completion and unlocked the Bandicoot concept art book. I never actually owned until I was in my mid-teens because I could just never fucking find it anywhere and I wasn't allowed to buy things online at the time. But I did play it loads of times at my godparents' house with her son in multiplayer mode.
I loved it a lot those few times I played it, but the kart racing bug hadn't bit me yet. I didn't really want to see Crash Bandicoot racing cars, so I skipped that game and didn't pick it up for a couple of years, much to my regret, I gotta be honest, because it's fucking fantastic. But the next logical thing I could do as a child was jump over weirdly to the first Nintendo console I ever owned, the Game Boy Advance, where I found Crash Bandicoot XS, also known as the Huge Adventure. And yeah, this was I think it was around 2002 this one came out, so we're at that point now.
This is the one I have many fond memories of because yeah, it may have been a 2D only title, but it was portable, which meant I could play it wherever and whenever I wanted. That is, if I had good light. Or I had a horrible plastic facehugger attached to it that made it look like the Game Boy was stuck on life support. The game itself was a culmination of all the side-scrolling stuff I loved from Crash 2 and 3, but crushed down into GBA graphics with millisecond loading.
I don't think I've ever played
the fact that it was portable. It wasn't
Crash
amazing, but I poured many hours into this game for long car journeys to Wales or the New Forest when we went on holiday back in the day.
Oh my
and since
god.
it was the first portable Crash game I owned, it was the first time I was able to jam out to a Crash soundtrack outdoors with my headphones since I couldn't get the PS1 game soundtracks on my mum's CD Walkman. Yes, kids, those were the fucking days. I had to listen to my fucking Game Boy Advance in the pause menu of the Crash Bandicoot stages. I don't think the Dark Ages ever went away. My sister was the one who owned Crash 2 Entrance, the game out of the two that I actually prefer, but I didn't form many memories with it since I was fully aware every time I played it that it was my sister's game, and so I didn't invest nearly the same amount of time into it as the original game because of that. I'm getting ahead of myself.
Look at her face. No, look at her face. She said, "Girl, please. What the fuck?" Like, where is this at? This is like, are these fucking women and a child looking for bathing suits? And this fucking, Really? Really? Come on now.
game, and so I didn't invest nearly the same amount of time into it as the original game because of that. I'm getting ahead of myself.
Crash
So what happened
Bandicoot,
after Excess,
staying
aka
classy.
The Huge Adventure?
Well, I received Crash Nitro Kart. And honestly, because again, the kart racing bug hadn't bit me and I missed CTR, didn't really care much for this one either, so I left it behind. And I honestly don't remember anything about it. Was it any good? I can't tell you. Was this game any fucking good? Crash Purple? Was that any good? I don't know. Crash Bandicoot isn't even purple, you stereotyphiliacs!
Well, my stupid kiddie self-loved it, especially compared to Spyro Orange, but yet again the memories made from this one were minimal because actually the game isn't that good. I think it's only natural for that to happen when you start off with games this good and everything just gets slightly worse and worse as the years go on. I do remember getting nearly every single card on the game though, no joke. This is from my save file and I only had one fucking card left to collect. One! I traded with my sister on her copy of Spyro Orange.
Sorry, just looking at the screen while he's recording the screen. Oh my god. One thing I hated growing up, is whenever I had like the Game Boy Advance or whatever that I like, whatever portable gaming device I had at the time. And I was like, I was forced to go to like some type of event, like maybe a holiday with the family or some type of event where I'd have to be outside for a while, and I would try to take whatever portable video game device I had, but you can't play it outside when the fucking sun is out, alright? You can't see shit. And that pissed me off so much. I'm like, this is only partially portable.
Over to collect Wumpa Fruit and went to every single Moneybags room multiple times for a lucky chance to grab any and all cards I could. I could make a fucking shelter for the homeless with the amount of duplicate cards I got, and yet I couldn't find this one card.
And even better, I've got nothing to show for any of this. Collecting trading cards in Crash Purple that do nothing? What was I thinking? This cartridge is basically a physical manifestation of my life that I have wasted. This is basically wasted life, and if I could take the save file out of the game and put it back into my body to give me the extra hours or days or however long I spent on it into my life just to live a little bit longer, I would fucking do that.
Then came along Twin Sanity, which I remember loving at the time, but I haven't played it since I first got it in 2004 for Christmas, and I played it non-stop that entire Christmas holiday. When I think of warm, tingly, nostalgic games in simpler times that fulfilled all of my Christmas wishes and kept me company while it was fucking freezing outside, Twin Sanity is indeed that very game that comes to my mind. The sense of humor was something brand new to me, not only in Crash Bandicoot, but any video game. I hadn't experienced a comedy game like this before until now, nor had I heard a soundtrack as unique, and how explorative it was and the risks it took away from the Crash formula really stuck out to me because it mostly nailed it.
I didn't really like the evil twins that much, but there, I was a kid and able to ignore it for the wackiness that was unfolding on my tiny 4x3 VHS built-in TV all those years ago.
As for my next Crash game,
I miss those TVs. I miss those TVs. I know it's mostly nostalgia, but I actually do kind of miss those TVs.
got ridiculously hyped for. I
Those
remember
fucking
that
things
I
were
begged
built.
and pleaded for tag
They could take a
team
beating.
racing, and I was so excited for it after what Twin Sanity did that I remember
Oh,
getting
those
this game from
old big fat TVs. Hold on, let me. Let's see, kind of. You know those kind of TVs, the big fat ones. Sometimes they had like their own like VHS that was like installed with them. Like either the tiny ones or the big ones. It didn't matter. They were beefy. They were beefy boys.
Team Racing, and I was so excited for it after what Twin
Plot
Sanity did that I
TVs.
remember getting this game from HMV in Oxford when it was brand new, and I said out loud after we stuck it in the shopping bag, I can't believe it, I actually got the new Crash game. I was a very melodramatic cock.
Believe it or not, this game I have fond memories of, and there's one reason for that. It was the first video game I learned to cheese. The first ever video, I was like 11 years old at the time. This was the first video game I was able to break in half, and That's the only reason I remember it. The rest of it, couldn't give a fuck. I just remember breaking this game to pieces. Not physically, I mean, it's just so fucking easy.
All you do is merge with a character that fires rockets like Engine, let the computer do the driving for you flawlessly, destroy absolutely everything with 2 hits maximum with the rockets, and then like a true parasite, after you're done with your host, break free from them and leave them to die as you take first place. You can do this with every single race in the game, and if you didn't merge with someone at some point, you're asking to come in a low position because of the high advantage everyone else has for merging with other racers. The game wasn't very good, to put it lightly. It's confused, unbalanced, way too fucking easy.
Sorry if you can hear me chewing, I'm snacking right now.
Worlds, giving you the illusion it was a platforming crash game at the same time as a racing game. But I'm planning a video on tag team racing in the future, so I won't go into much more detail today. All I will say is that this game had this thing in it, and that's all you need to see for proof on how terrible the whole thing is.
Really could take a beating though. Like, shout out to the people that had those like fucking humongous TVs. I mean, humongous TVs. Like, they were thick, fat, and big screen. And these bitches were like hauling them in trucks to take to a friend's house just a game. Like, to have a LAN party. Like, you had to have friends to travel around with that fucking thing. Because you needed help to cart that shit around. Like, it was not a one-person job. You were not picking that TV up by yourself. You needed a friend or two at the bare minimum.
Also, I didn't even bother. And when I had my Wii, my first ever Wii.
Yeah, whenever something was wrong, you just like smacked it and it fixed it. But these days, if you smack technology, it breaks into a million pieces.
Friend and promptly forgot everything about it. I did play a little bit of it, but it was so forgettable to me. I can't say anything more about it. I just wanted to stay relevant with Crash Bandicoot at the time, staying modern and up to date. Didn't do anything for me whatsoever. Don't remember a thing about it. And the same applies to Mind Over Mutant. At which point, I was basically just accepting the fact
that I remember. I remember seeing that photo. It's so iconic.
And I had to keep up with all the cool kids and all the older teenagers who were playing stuff like Burnout Paradise. That was like the hot shit back in the day. And Crash Bandicoot just seemed a bit babyish in comparison. So I just assumed that the reason I was forgetting all about that stuff was because I was just getting older, and I just left them to it.
I did always come back to
you did what you had to do to game with your friends
throughout the years, in fact. And before the Insane Trilogy came out and blew my expectations out the water after I made a video complaining about the things I didn't like about it, I did give this iOS game a try called Nitro Kart 3D.
Oh,
to put it simply, throwing your phone in the bin is a more productive thing to do on it than download this pube of a game on it. That's the funny thing though, despite all the highs, the lows, and things just going downhill after 2004 until
like, I know it's more commonplace now, but I honestly, when they started trying to make like games for the phones, like not just like phone games themselves, like, but started putting like Crash Bandicoot, stuff like that. When they started making those type of games for the phone, I was like, oh no. Like, even then growing up, I was like, this is not going to end well.
And when the last Crash Bandicoot related game
we do need more couch co-op
on iOS. The treasured memories I have of the hairy round orange thing and how he introduced me to video gaming is something I wouldn't trade for anything. If it weren't for Crash, I wouldn't be here making videos. It's as simple as that. And I can't tell you how glad I was that after 7 years of total silence, Sony cared enough to bring him back and rock our socks off all over again. Yeah, I know I was very critical at the time of the gameplay reveals, but that's only because of my passion for the series in the first place.
If anyone was still wondering, that is why I decided to do Bandicoot Month. Every June from now on, I'll be covering the good, the bad, and the downright hideous from Crash & Co. Leaving no
this fucking animation is so...
Until we have no more to talk about. Get ready. Saying that though, I don't actually know how possible that's going to be because not including the videos I had for this month because I've crossed them off the list.
Game that forces you to use your phone as a controller?
For Bandicoot Month. We're going to be here until your grandkids are dead.
I guess fuck all those people that are
while watching this video. Happy fucking birthday to you.
Too poor to have the best phone.
And get ready for the rest of the month, everybody. Ta-ra.
Thank you so much for watching the beginning of Bandicoot Month, everybody. I hope you enjoyed my little history with the Bandicoot himself, and special thanks to every single name on the screen right now that have helped support this channel
we get
via
bloopers?
Patreon, and especially now that June's
Did we get the outtakes?
Yes, YouTube have changed everything again with copyright and content ID. It's stricter than ever, so thank you every single person that
I mean,
helps
to
keep
be
this
fair, if it's
channel
like
alive, basically.
a game
special
literally
thanks to
built
top-tier supporters,
to play with your
Omama2,
phone, like,
Basil,
if it's like a
Patrick
party game or
Ferguson,
something, I get
Robert
it.
Alamsha, I Have a Portal Gun, Gamerman, Chumbawamba, Cyberpunk Symphony, Stareye, Relance J, Zakari, The Pinkinator, Binary Code, Exopaz, Thomas Olson, Daniel Leon, Jane Ives, Mitchell Reed, Adi Thornton Smith, Oblivion Rising, Ellen Rilpley, Kirsten
Do we
B,
get
QB,
bloopers?
Nathan Young, and Nicole Ganara. Thank you so much, every single one of you.
Damn. No bloopers / outtakes. Damn. Oh, man. What a fucking nostalgia trip. Like, it still blows my mind. Like, there's so many Crash Bandicoot games. Because I honestly legit grew up thinking there was, like, maybe, like, 3 or 4. And that was it.